She only meant for it to be one night, a mistake, a memory she'd bury forever. But when Emily walked into her boss's office the next morning, resignation letter trembling in her hands, she never expected to find him waiting for her, eyes filled not with anger, but with something far more dangerous. "You can quit," he said softly, "but you can't leave me." Emily's heels clicked softly against the marble floor as she hurried through the empty corridors of Blackwell Enterprises. Clutching the envelope that held her resignation letter, her pulse raced with every step. The memories of the night before burned like wildfire in her mind. His touch, his voice, the warmth of his breath when he whispered her name. It had been wrong, all of it. She was his assistant, and he was her boss. No, more than that. He was Adrian Blackwell, a billionaire CEO whose world ran on control and perfection, and she had broken both. The gala had started like any other event. She had attended countless corporate gatherings before, smiling politely, managing schedules, keeping her distance. But that night had been different. Adrian had been different. He had barely spoken during the evening, his usual confidence replaced by an edge of quiet exhaustion. When he found her on the balcony, standing alone beneath the glittering city skyline, she saw something in his eyes she had never seen before. Loneliness. He had walked toward her, the scent of his cologne mingling with the cold night air. "You always disappear when the night gets too loud," he said softly, leaning against the railing beside her. His tone wasn't commanding this time. It was human, almost fragile. "I like quiet places," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "No one notices you there." Adrian had smiled faintly, turning to face her. "Maybe that's the problem. No one should be invisible, Emily." His words caught her off guard. For years, she'd blended into the background, content to be unnoticed. Yet, in that moment, under the glow of city lights, he saw her, really saw her. One look became a conversation, and one conversation became a touch she didn't expect. When his hand brushed hers, she didn't pull away. When he leaned closer, she didn't stop him. The air between them shifted, filled with unspoken emotions neither dared to name. That night, logic vanished, and for once, Emily allowed herself to feel. But morning had no mercy. She had woken to sunlight streaming through his penthouse windows, the expensive sheets tangled around her, the echo of his voice still lingering in her head. Guilt surged through her like ice. She couldn't stay, not after what had happened. Before he woke, she left quietly, leaving behind nothing but a folded note that said, "I'm sorry." Now, hours later, she stood outside his office, trying to summon the courage to walk in. When she finally did, Adrian was already there, standing by the window, his hands in his pockets. His gaze shifted to her immediately, intense and unreadable. "You're leaving," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," she whispered. "I need to." He stepped closer, each word measured and firm. "You think one night changes nothing? You think I can forget you just because you decided to run?" Her throat tightened. It was a mistake. Adrian stopped inches from her, his voice low, his eyes burning. "Then why can't I stop thinking about you?" Her breath caught, the letter trembling in her hand. He reached for it slowly, but instead of taking it, he pressed her fingers closed around it. "You can quit the job, Emily," he murmured. "But you can't quit what's already begun." And just like that, the walls she had built around her heart began to crumble. Emily froze. Unable to move, her breath caught somewhere between panic and longing. His words echoed in the silence of the office. "You can't quit what's already begun." The sound of rain against the floor-to-ceiling windows filled the space between them. Soft and rhythmic, yet her heart pounded so loudly she could barely hear anything else. "Adrian," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Please don't make this harder than it already is." He looked at her for a long moment, the steel in his expression softening just enough to reveal something raw beneath it. "You think I'm trying to make this hard for you?" His tone was low, almost pained. "Emily, I haven't stopped thinking about you since that night." She shook her head, backing away a step. "That's exactly why I have to go. It was a mistake, and I crossed a line. You're my boss, and this..." This can't happen. Adrian exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair as if trying to steady himself. You always follow rules, don't you? He said, half a smile tugging at his lips, though his eyes were far from amused. You do everything perfectly, you stay in the background, you protect everyone else. But what about you, Emily? When do you let yourself live? Her throat tightened. This isn't living, Adrian. It's a scandal waiting to happen. People already talk, and if anyone finds out about what happened, they won't, he cut in firmly, stepping closer until she could feel the heat of him. No one has to know. I don't care what they think. I care about you. His words hit her like a wave. For years, she had worked beside him, seeing only his cold, focused exterior. She had never imagined he could look at her like this, as though she was something he couldn't afford to lose. And yet every part of her screamed that staying would destroy them both. Adrian, stop, she pleaded, her voice breaking. Don't make this harder. I can't work here anymore. I need to go before I ruin everything you've built. He studied her face in silence, the seconds stretching unbearably long. Finally, he sighed and turned away, his back to her as he stared out at the rain-soaked skyline. You think you can just walk out of my life like none of this happened? I have to. He turned back slowly, and there was no anger in his eyes now, only a kind of quiet determination that scared her more than anything else. Then at least be honest before you leave, he said softly. Was it just a mistake for you? She hesitated, her lips parting, but no words came out. He stepped closer again, his gaze locked on hers. Tell me you felt nothing, he whispered. Tell me it meant nothing, and I'll let you go. Her chest ached as she tried to speak, but the truth betrayed her before she could even form a lie. Tears shimmered in her eyes as she looked up at him. I can't, she whispered. A slow, almost broken smile curved his lips. He reached up, brushing his thumb gently against her cheek. Then don't, he murmured. Stay. In that moment, with the city lights reflecting in his eyes and the rain streaking down the glass behind him, Emily realized that no resignation letter could ever undo what had already begun, and no amount of running could hide her heart from the man who had already claimed it.